Welcome to the Finding Hope for Frizzle webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to share a major milestone in the journey toward treatment for Frizzle, also known as FRRS1L genetic disease. We recognize many of you might be meeting our organization, Finding Hope for Frizzle, for the first time, as well as learning of the rare genetic disease called Frizzle. I look forward to sharing more about who we are, our disease, and our excitement to get treatment for Frizzle patients this year. Let's get started. A key theme for our presentation today is our recent announcement that our organization, Finding Hope for Frizzle, has partnered with Apertura Gene Therapy to license their TfR1 CapX technology for our gene therapy for Frizzle treatment. Our hope is to be first in human with the FRRS1L TfR1 CapX gene therapy before the end of this year. Although Frizzle is a rare neurodevelopmental disease, advancing this treatment into the clinical setting has implications far beyond a single disease. Progress in this space will not only support smaller rare disease communities, but also contribute valuable insights that may accelerate breakthroughs in more prevalent neurodegenerative conditions, such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. We hope you will join us on this journey of hope as we seek to change lives and change the world. Hi, I'm Chrissy Green, one of the co-founders and president of Finding Hope for Frizzle. I will be sharing today about who we are as an organization, what Frizzle disease is, and why we have partnered with Apertura Gene Therapy to license their TfR1 CapX technology for our Frizzle gene therapy. We are excited to move our treatment into the clinic, and we're doing it with the support of some amazing partners and advisors who are a part of our treatment development team. You will be hearing from two of them today. Dr. Ben Deverman is the Senior Director of Vector Engineering at the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard, as well as he is the scientific founder of Apertura Gene Therapy and developer of the TfR1 CapX technology. We are honored to have him on the call and part of our team. And lastly, we will be hearing from our manufacturing partner, Viralgen Vector Core, who is a big advocate for the rare disease community. Andy Holt is Viralgen's Chief Commercial Officer, and he will be sharing more about Viralgen's commitment to support rare disease groups like ours. Together, we are a team dedicated to moving treatments forward. Today, I'll walk you through 4 specific topics. First, who we are as an organization. Second, what Frizzle disease is. Third, why we chose TfR1 CapX for our gene therapy approach. And last, how you can join us in this journey to change the world. First up, who we are as an organization. Finding Hope for Frizzle, or FRRS1L, is a parent-led 501c3 nonprofit registered in the state of Colorado. We were founded in 2021 by parents who have children directly affected by Frizzle genetic disease. We have no paid staff. Every dollar raised goes directly to treatment development. We are a parent-led organization that has control of our treatment program from end to end. We fund it, we drive it, and we serve as the sponsor of our pre-IND with the US FDA. This responsibility is something we take very seriously because our children are suffering, and we are committed to get treatment developed as a drug to end the devastation of Frizzle disease, not only for current patients, but all future patients as well. Our mission has 3 pillars: community, so Frizzle families are never alone; treatment, so treatment for Frizzle moves forward urgently; and awareness, so Frizzle is recognized, understood, and diagnosed earlier. Our board is fully volunteer and made up of parents and professionals deeply committed to this mission. Each person brings critical expertise, lived experience, and accountability to our leadership team. Our gene therapy program advisors include leaders in gene therapy, regulatory affairs, and clinical development. This team ensures that our work meets the highest scientific and regulatory standards. In our partnership with Apertura Gene Therapy, we want to highlight the amazing and dedicated team at this company. They are professionals that treat all partners, whether industry or organizations, with a high level of expertise and professionalism. They know their technology extensively, and they are passionate about helping move treatments forward to patients. We are honored to work with this team and want to recognize all their hard work in supporting our treatment development program. We are also honored to have Dr. Ben Deverman as a key member of our treatment development team. We are so thankful for his life's work in developing the TfR1 CapX technology and his heart to make it accessible for groups and diseases like Frizzle. He will be sharing more later in this presentation. Now let's dive into what is Frizzle disease. Frizzle is a devastating and severely debilitating genetic disease. FRRS1L, or as we say, Frizzle, is also known as early infantile epileptic encephalopathy type 37. Mothers of diseased children experience a normal pregnancy. At birth, there are no medical issues, disease, or deformities with patients' bodies and major systems. However, around 6 months of age, patients experience developmental delays. Between 6 to 24 months of age, epilepsy and regression begin. Regression is rapid. For my Frizzle daughter, it was overnight. She had her first seizure on November 1st, and on November 2nd, when she woke up, she was struggling to hold her head up. She wasn't using her arms normally. She was drooling and had a visible movement disorder. She quickly regressed and by 3 months had a feeding tube. Frizzle children lose all motor function, both gross motor and fine motor skills. They have loss of oral motor function and airway clearance. However, Frizzle children retain their cognitive awareness and understanding. They communicate through sounds and expressions, and both low and high-tech speech methods. All patients are wheelchair dependent, requiring full head and full body support. Frizzle patients are G-tube or J-tube fed, and they require one-to-one care, or 24/7 skilled care and intervention. Seizure control is poor, with epilepsy remaining highly refractory to anti-epileptic medications. Frizzle disease progression and symptoms are consistent across all patients. Secondary health conditions due to loss of function include airway obstructions, respiratory failure, cerebral palsy, hip dysplasia, urology difficulties, infection, and etc. Patients' threats to life include pneumonia, infection, and seizures that do not stop. A big breakthrough for Frizzle came in 2019 when Dr. Fackler, with the University of Freiburg, Germany, was able to develop a mouse model for Frizzle disease. This article helped identify the role or function of the FRRS1L gene in the brain's neurons. A link to the research article is available on our website under the research option in the top menu. Although Frizzle disease is devastating and causes severe suffering for our patients, it does have one thing that is good about it as a disease that helps us when developing our gene therapy program. That is, Frizzle has one job to do in the brain. Because of this, we know what we are targeting for our gene replacement therapy. Frizzle disease is a recessive genetic disease resulting from loss of function mutations in the FRRS1L gene. The FRRS1L gene encodes a protein that is required for the assembly of the AMPA subtype of glutamate receptors in the brain. If you look at the graphic on the right of your screen, you will see a graphic from the previously noted article by Dr. Fackler. This image shows the function of the FRRS1L gene in the assembly line process for building an AMPA receptor. Because Frizzle disease has two non-functioning genes, the function of the FRRS1L gene is not completed, and the AMPA receptor is not being built correctly, causing a reduction in AMPA receptors in the brain. In the absence of these receptors, there is early onset epilepsy, hyperkinetic movements, and developmental delay, followed by severe and rapid regression, and loss of function by the age of 2 years old. Frizzle patients have 2 non-functioning copies of the FRRS1L gene, resulting in the AMPA receptors not being built and the messages not being sent. Frizzle is required for AMPA receptor assembly and maturation. It is recycled after use. Currently, there are 100+ known cases of Frizzle disease identified around the world. However, this number is growing monthly as more patients pursue whole genome sequencing testing, and because of the increase in awareness of the disease through our organization's efforts. Frizzle genetic disease is found across multiple people groups all around the world. Due to its recent discovery in 2016, and because of limited global access to genetic testing, Frizzle disease is highly likely to be underdiagnosed and/or misdiagnosed in certain patients. We know this from families within our Frizzle community, like the ones pictured here. The older siblings in the photos were misdiagnosed for years. It wasn't until a younger sibling was born and tested that the older child was correctly diagnosed with Frizzle disease. Now, most new cases that are being reported are in infants between 6 months to 1 year of age, due to early intervention by medical providers and genetic testing. What is surprising about Frizzle, but again is helpful when developing treatment, is that although the disease is present all over the world and across people groups, the Frizzle disease patients all have the same disease progression and symptoms. All Frizzle patients have developmental delays, then seizures begin, and they regress and lose all abilities by age of 2 years old. As we develop our treatment, we are not trying to solve for a large spectrum of disease. This is because Frizzle patients must have 2 non-functioning FRRS1L genes to have the disease. Our carriers of the non-functioning Frizzle gene do not have symptoms. This is extremely important for identifying endpoints and showing recovery and efficacy in our future clinical trial. Finding Hope for Frizzle funded preclinical studies at the University of Texas Southwestern. In this study, Frizzle deficient or diseased mice were treated with gene replacement therapy. As a result, the treated mice had both their brains and bodies come back to function. Treated mice showed rebuilt brain structures, reduced seizures, and restored function, approaching wild-type performance. This is why we believe treatment is possible for Frizzle disease and why we are so hopeful for recovery through treatment. The photo here is the moment my co-founder and I first saw our Frizzle disease mice treated with gene replacement therapy walk across a ladder test. When we saw the mouse come back to function, we said, "We want that for all Frizzle kids." We are determined to get this treatment to our struggling Frizzle patients this year. For Frizzle patients and their families, joy and pain coexist all at the same time. These children are expressive and experience joy, emotion, love, and connection. They are a normal child inside who wants to play and experience their world and the people they love, but they're trapped in a body they can't control. They're trapped by Frizzle disease that torments them with constant epileptic noise and seizures, as well as a body that is suffering due to immobility and loss of strength. Their spines are curving, their wrists and hands are contorting, and their respiratory is constantly failing. Without treatment, in the end, the suffering will win. Frizzle will take our children. Moving treatment forward for Frizzle is the absolutely most loving action we can take to stop their suffering and give them back their lives, and to change the world for all diseases pursuing gene therapy. This is why we, as a parent-led organization, have made the informed decision, through the support of research and outside advisors, to use the TfR1 CapX technology for our Frizzle gene therapy. As a parent-led organization that has control of our treatment program, we made the decision to develop our gene replacement therapy for Frizzle genetic disease using the TfR1 CapX technology. The research from Dr. Ben Deverman and his lab on CapX is incredible. We know our kids and patients can only get dosed once with a gene therapy, and we need it to be the best technology possible that can deliver our Frizzle gene to the whole brain. We also need it to be a route of administration that is less invasive and more easily accessible for our global patient population. CapX does exactly that. It is dosed intravenously and can deliver genes throughout the whole brain. Let's look at the reasons why we have hope with gene replacement therapy using the TfR1 CapX technology. Frizzle has one job in the brain, but we need to hit as much of the brain as possible, which is why we chose the TfR1 CapX technology, because it enables robust gene delivery across different brain regions. Frizzle disease is well defined with a clear and consistent clinical course and measurable symptoms. Because of this, a first-in-human study can be designed around a clear target population and clear clinical endpoints. Preclinical efficacy data showed functional improvement and restoration of motor and brain functions. Preclinical testing of TfR1 CapX FRRS1L in a relevant mouse model confirms FRRS1L gene expression throughout the brain. FRRS1L is a small transgene, making it compatible with AAV gene delivery. The FRRS1L payload can be efficiently packaged into the TfR1 CapX technology. To reach the broadest patient population globally, we need administration to be minimally invasive and scalable, which the TfR1 CapX technology is administered intravenously and enabling a practical, broadly accessible delivery approach. In the process for treatment development, our organization is currently in the manufacturing stage of our GMP batch for treatment, meaning we are making the literal drug product to be given as a one-time dose to Frizzle patients in an upcoming clinical trial. We are very proud to announce that our manufacturing partner is Viralgen Vector Core. You will be hearing from Andy Holt, the Chief Commercial Officer at Viralgen, later in this presentation. Viralgen leadership has prioritized partnering with rare disease organizations to help accelerate treatment development and by keeping costs within reach. We are proud to trust Viralgen Vector Core with our treatment manufacturing. It is our goal to be first in human with the Frizzle TfR1 CapX by this September 2026. We have our plan and timeline set and partners are in place. However, we still need funding to get this treatment to the finish line and in patients. Finding Hope for Frizzle is a nonprofit that is 100% responsible for funding the development of Frizzle treatment. As an organization, we have already raised $2.5 million just through our fundraising efforts and by the very generous and compassionate donors who want to see this treatment get to Frizzle patients. These are dollars from family, friends, and the general public that is watching and following along on this journey of hope. Like I mentioned, we have our plan and timeline set and partners are in place. The only threat to hold up this treatment for desperately waiting patients is funding. We still need funding to get this treatment to the finish line and in patients by September this year. Although Frizzle is a rare neurodevelopmental disease, advancing this treatment into the clinical setting has implications far beyond a single disease. Progress in this space will not only support smaller rare disease communities, but also contribute valuable insights that may accelerate breakthroughs in more prevalent neurodegenerative conditions such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. We are seeking leaders and champions across these communities who are willing to step forward in support, recognizing that this effort has the potential to advance treatment development across the entire neurological disease and gene therapy development landscape. Please email contact@FRRS1L.org to begin a conversation with us on how you can help. We hope you will join us on this journey of hope as we seek to change lives and change the world. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Ben Deverman, Senior Director of Vector Engineering at the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard. He's also the scientific founder of Apertura Gene Therapy and the developer of TfR1 CapX.
Thank you so much, Chrissy, for everything that you do. For more than 10 years, I've been driven by one passion: figuring out how to deliver gene therapies to the brain. The Broad Institute, where I work, was founded just over 20 years ago with an ambitious goal to leverage the newly sequenced human genome and fulfill the promise of genetic medicine, which is to treat the root cause of genetic diseases, not just their symptoms. It was going to be the dawn of a new era. Millions of genomes later, scientists have made tremendous progress towards understanding the connection between specific genes and disease. But that second piece, the new genomic medicines part, that's been slower to arrive. And it's not for lack of ideas. The idea of gene therapy to replace a missing or malfunctioning gene with a normal copy has been around a long time, well before the first whole genome was sequenced. And we know for so many diseases, including Frizzle, what gene needs to be replaced or fixed. The trouble is the practical application of gene therapy. It turns out to be amazingly difficult to get genes into the part of the body that matter the most for the disease, and arguably no place has been harder to reach than the brain. But this is what my lab at the Broad Institute is focused on. We aim to develop vehicles for gene therapies for the CNS. But I wasn't always a gene delivery guy. My career took an unexpected turn in 2012 when my advisor at the time gave me what felt like a completely left field piece of advice. Basically, that I should stop doing what I've been doing and go after a problem that really matters. His suggestion was to figure out how to deliver genes to the brain. He said it was okay if I didn't really know that much about it yet. Even making partial progress towards this goal would be a huge step. But sadly, Paul died of a brain tumor not that long after that, without ever seeing how his advice completely changed my life. He passed away around the time of my first breakthrough. I developed the first gene therapy vector that could cross the blood-brain barrier and reach most of the neurons in the adult mouse brain. I will never forget the moment I first looked under the microscope and saw the whole brain lit up green. That meant that the green fluorescent protein gene carried by my vector had gotten into the brain really well. And my first thought was, this has to be a mistake. What could I have done wrong? But it wasn't a mistake. It was our first big step forward. And since then, it's hardly been smooth sailing. That first vector we discovered caused a lot of excitement in our lab and beyond, but it quickly became clear that it only worked in mice. And other vehicles developed after that were the same. Searching for vehicles that worked in one species didn't really predict what would work in another, or in humans. This could have been a moment to give up, but I had been committed to my hard problem. I didn't walk away from it then, and in fact I understand now that I can't and won't ever walk away from this problem. It matters so much to me, my team, and so many of you. As it turns out, embedded in that setback was the insight we needed to take the next big leap forward. We figured out why the capsid only got into the mouse brain. It was gaining entry by grabbing onto one specific protein that exists only in mice, and in a way that protein was shuttling it into the brain. The discovery of this specific mouse protein also showed us a new approach that we could use to develop vehicles that specifically grab onto a shuttle protein to get through the human blood-brain barrier. We decided to focus on a human protein called the transferrin receptor. We know this protein exists in the human blood-brain barrier, and we know that its normal job is to ferry iron into the brain. Encouragingly, other scientists have been able to design antibody drug complexes that bind this transferrin receptor and safely transport the drugs into the brain in humans. So we wanted to know, could we use this same approach for gene therapy? And after several years of work, our experiments in the lab say yes, that CapX, which we've engineered to latch onto the human transferrin receptor, can hitch a ride on this protein to cross the blood-brain barrier, to get into neurons throughout the brain. But we are now at the moment of truth. Will it safely deliver a gene therapy into the brain of humans? Well, the only way we're really going to know is to treat patients. And this is where I want to acknowledge that everything we do in the lab means nothing ultimately without you, without the people who are willing to step up to the plate and say, yes, we want to try this new kind of medicine. Working on a scientific problem that matters this much is exciting, but at times scary. The setbacks are painful and the stakes are high, but what I see in the Frizzle and rare disease community is a different kind of courage. You are living an unbelievably hard problem every single day, the kind of hard problem where you have no choice but to be brave. And so I wanted to say thank you for trusting me, my lab, and the Apertura team to contribute what we can to your fight. I wish I could say I knew exactly what will happen next. Instead, what I can say is that I genuinely believe that this is our best shot we've ever had at making a gene therapy work in the brain. I can say that I will keep working on this problem no matter what, and that we will be committed to learning everything we can from every step we take. It means so much to me and my whole team to be with you on this journey, to help kids with Frizzle reach their true potential. Thank you for your attention, and I'm now going to turn it back to Chrissy to talk about the next steps in manufacturing the Frizzle CapX gene therapy.
Now I would like to introduce Andy Holt, Chief Commercial Officer with Viralgen Vector Core.
Thank you, Chrissy. We're so excited to be the manufacturing partner for Frizzle on this project. We have spent a lot of time making AAV gene therapies. It's what Viralgen is all about. It's the only thing that we do, and we take the trust that groups like yours or that any of our customers place in us really, really seriously. But especially in projects like this, where there's a great combination of novel science and really deep, profound patient impact. We're just super humbled by the opportunity. And while we think, and I think anybody at Viralgen would agree with me, that the science here and the work the foundation is doing should really take center stage, given that critical role that manufacturing plays at this stage in projects like yours, and how deeply we care about advancing gene therapy for everybody. I will spend a few minutes talking about who Viralgen is, why we love working with groups like this, and why we think the project is in a good position to be successful here in the coming months. A little bit of background on us as Viralgen. We've been around since 2017. We were founded as a joint venture between a therapeutic developer in the gene therapy space called AskBio and a venture capital group called Columbus Venture Partners. Back in 2017, we were founded in San Sebastian, Spain. I can tell you if we had more time or some other time about how we ended up there, but it is part of a connection to rare disease that we still honor today through our work with nonprofit groups and a corporate social responsibility policy that's continued throughout our whole history. In 2020, we were acquired by Bayer Pharma, and we've operated as an arm's length subsidiary within the Bayer network ever since. We've got close to 500 employees now, and again, we operate solely in the AAV gene therapy space as a contract manufacturing group. So that's our entire mission, is really to be the best place in the world to make AAV. At Viralgen, our remit from our board, from our stakeholders, is to be a profitable, growing, market-leading contract manufacturer in gene therapy, right? We want to be the best place in the world to make AAV. I think where maybe we stand out a little bit, or I hope that we set a good example as a leader, is to lead by example in working with nonprofits and with non-traditional therapeutic developers, because we see both through kind of the peak of gene therapy funding a few years ago and now in the current environment, the fundamentals that there are projects that should be done that for whatever reason are lacking access to funding or lacking access to kind of the traditional biotech ecosystem remain. And we believe strongly that those projects shouldn't be left behind. So we work in a creative way, in a flexible way with nonprofits and non-traditional therapeutic developers, trying to be as flexible as possible, both on the terms and on the costs, while supplying full 100% support for regulatory supply chain manufacturing strategy, the way we do with all of our customers. And one of the things that we've seen by maintaining that commitment throughout the entire time that Viralgen has existed is this ecosystem that we get to plug into. As an example, in the Frizzle project, we've gotten to work with Ben and his group at the Broad in multiple different contexts, in both for-profit and nonprofit contexts, and learned quite a bit about how to make CapX, the capsid in question here for Frizzle, as a result. That's made us better not only for Frizzle and the foundation work, but for the broad market of customers who are interested in blood-brain penetrant capsids, which is a big list. These sort of ecosystem developments, by trying to be a good corporate citizen in this space, have been really meaningful for us. Obviously, we get to see very closely the impact that some of the therapeutics we've gotten to make for foundations have had, but we also get to learn and grow on our own. And this sort of cycle is something we're super excited about, and pays dividends, both head and heart dividends, really. And it's something that we'll continue to do as long as Viralgen exists. We do all that work in 2 different facilities on the north coast of Spain. We think, depending on how you add it up, we have the most AAV gene therapy capacity under roof of any place in the world. We have both clinical and commercial manufacturing capabilities that have been licensed since 2019 and 2022 respectively. Come see us. We love hosting folks in Spain. We have a great rare disease day event every year that we could bring you over for, and let you see that these are the places that we can really bring therapies to life, right? And scale your manufacturing work either for that first in human or all the way through to the end of a commercialization journey. We operate a platform approach. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but our platform approach in gene therapy means we can move projects really quickly. So bottom line, if you're not approaching this discussion with a lot of expertise in gene therapy, from a layperson's perspective, if you can hand us the gene that you want to be inserted into a patient, we'll hand you back the drug product. At a bit of a higher technical level, we have a dedicated cell line. We have constructs that we've optimized for both the helper and rep cap in a triple transfection process. We run a platformed upstream and downstream process and handle all the fill finish work as well as the QC release and testing that's necessary to produce a safe and well-characterized drug product that's ready for clinical trials. In the last 2 years, we've done this now multiple times in under a year. In every project, speed matters, right? But one of the key benefits of this platform approach that we operate is that we can go really fast through kind of some of the traditional steps. And for the Frizzle project, we're almost GMP ready, which is a testament to how fast we can operate the platform, even with a lot of novel science around the CapX plasmid, or CapX capsid rather, that's novel and interesting science that obviously any platform helps benefit. And so in those facilities and with that platform approach, we are proud of the track record we've established over the last 8 years in manufacturing AAV gene therapies. We've made more than 30 different kinds of AAV, 30 different serotypes, which gave us the confidence initially that CapX could be one of that growing list. We've made more than 150 different GMP batches for clinical and late clinical and now pre-commercialization work, and close to 2,000 batches now overall of different AAV gene therapies, which gives us a really high confidence level in each next one being our best run. In addition to that, from a regulatory perspective, we're now 45 for 45 in submissions to global regulators, and we look forward to the Frizzle project being probably it'll be 50 or 51 with the ones that we already have in the queue that are filed, but we'll have to see where that gets. And our regulatory affairs team loves that I brag on this because they're nervous that someday we'll have an issue, but I have 100% confidence that we will continue this 100% success rate in regulatory submissions, which helps us feel comfortable and confident that we can keep the Frizzle program on track. In terms of the project specifically, we're really excited and humbled, right? We think that we're going to be able to be in scaled clinical manufacturing in the spring and with doses available for patients in the fall for Frizzle, and that's awesome. That's the commitment we made to the Frizzle team when we started talking, and that's the commitment we intend to honor as we move forward in manufacturing here over the course of 2026. So with that, I'll conclude, hopefully in the same way that I started, just to say that Viralgen as a team is super grateful for the opportunity to work with Frizzle. We love that we get the chance to do projects like this. We love the science and the impact that this project represents, and we love and are humbled by the trust that Chrissy and the whole Frizzle team place in us to make that combination a reality at scale here over the course of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today and learning more about Frizzle disease, our organization, Finding Hope for Frizzle, and our gene therapy program, and our amazing partners. We hope you will join us on this journey of hope as we seek to change lives and change the world. For questions, please email contact@FRRS1L.org. To check out more information and resources on what we shared today, please visit our website at www.FRRS1L.org. Thank you again.